But I want you guys to hear what Stephen Jackson had to say to Matt Barnes. Take a listen to what these gentlemen had to say here.
Stephen A. was talking about, who talks about the WNBA, who talks about the women, who talks about women's sports more than First Take. And Monica McNutt put her foot down and stood on business. You're already smiling.
Yeah, shout out Double M. Shout out Double M, man.
She said, respectfully, with your platform, you could have been doing this years ago.
All right.
Who talks about the WNBA? Who talks about women? Who talk about women's sports more than First Take?
Stephen A., respectfully, with your platform, you could have been doing this 3 years ago if you wanted to.
Again, it's interesting, because I got to see the edit. I was on the plane when it happened, but listening to Monica talk, I kind of got the sense of women that talk about men's sports kind of have to watch their tongue and the way they address things, and I never looked at it that way. The way they approach, the way they call things, I never looked at it that way. And now, they're saying that men who are coming into this space need to do similar things. You need to watch the way you address and certain words not to say and do, and it's just a really interesting time. But when you hear those two go back and forth, and obviously, Monica McNutt, had a mic drop on Stephen A. What was your thought?
I love that take, Matt, because we always say, can't nobody really speak about the NBA better than we can. Right. She's a female basketball player that's been there and that done it. So it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to go against what she's saying. But and she made a point. A lot of times people talking loud don't make you right. And she was real calm with the way she said it, and she gave me, she was right. You could have been talking about this 3 years ago. I get that. But at the same time, Stephen A. Smith, they can't get mad at her for speaking facts, Matt, like you just said. It's certain shit we can say and certain words we can use when talking about women's basketball. And when women start to talk about basketball, sometimes you got guys like them, like Stephen A. Smith, that try to overtalk these women, but just because they men. You haven't played either, but just because you feel like you're a man, you overtalk these women, feel like it's certain stuff that they can't say, and that's not right.
My question to you is, do men, if we're going to join this race, do we need to take a back seat and allow the women to lead the race as far as the media goes?
Well, in my opinion, I say yes.
I mean, I ain't mad at that, bro.
Because who can tell you more about it than the women that experienced this?
That did it.
That's what I'm saying. So that's the main thing I like. That women that played it are starting to feel the same way we feel about a lot of people that haven't played the game that have big opinions about it.
Yeah, I ain't mad at that at all. Because again, all the tension is good attention, whether it comes in different forms, good and bad. But like you said, some of these women have either played it on the highest level in the W or played Division I college or overseas and did their thing. So I do feel like
they better than Stephen A.
But I do feel like coming in because we expect other motherfuckers to take a backseat to us when we're talking about our game.
Exactly.
So we need to take Jack. I ain't even mad at that. I didn't even look at it that way, bro.
Yeah.
But men might need to take a back seat and allow these women to steer the car because this is their game.
Yes.
And I respect that.
Yep.
I like that, Jack.
I even go for this, Matt. I think it need to be, how we fought for black coaches in the NBA? I think we need to fight for it to be majority all women coaches in the WNBA. It's their league.
So you heard what Stephen Jackson had to say. In this particular instance, I think I'm going to disagree with some of the things that Stephen Jackson said, and I'm going to tell you why. Stephen Jackson basically brought up the point of, since they're women, it's their sport, then we should allow them to talk their sport, and we need to take a seat, take a step back, and basically adhere to whatever rules and regulations they may have on men who want to talk about their sport. Here's the issue. The women in the WNBA and the advocates for the WNBA, they are relying upon men, in this, for instance, you give an example, men in the NBA, to help them grow their brand. If you listen carefully, Monica McNutt said at the very end of her comments, she says, Stephen A. Smith, you could have been talking about this years ago because of your big platform. So she was basically saying, you could have been doing more for us. Where I parted ways with them and I part ways with Stephen Jackson is this. If you're asking me, or in this case men, to lend their platform, lend their resources by going to games, watching the games, watching it on television, then I don't think you then also have a right to tell them how they need to talk about that thing that they're seeing. The reason I say that is because I never heard men anywhere say, I've never seen it on television where they said, oh, you need to talk about basketball this way. You need to talk about basketball that way. And in the case of Stephen A. Smith and ESPN First Take, there have been many days where Stephen A. Smith has had panels where it's just full of women hosting the show, analysts on the show, talking sports that men play. And I never heard any men anywhere come out and say, oh, well, you need to watch how you talk about sports. They just allowed them to have the stage. And that's the reason why I thought what Monica McNutt did was disingenuous. I think she was pandering, and I think she had a lazy analysis, because there's been many times ESPN First Take has been dominated by women. Many, many times. They've gone out of their way on that network to promote female voices. It is the truth.